This isn't just gossip, ladies and gentlemen, so fasten your seatbelts. This public collapse was seen on camera in real time. Imagine this. Claressa Shields' alleged ideal fiancé, Tony Rich, detonated in the middle of a throng like a ticking time bomb, and Papoose, the man everyone says is untouchable, devoted and dream-proof, is his target? Not anymore. That is, because the reality wasn't only revealed when fists began to fly and people cried out, "Stop." It was aired live like a pay-per-view catastrophe. Here's the real kicker, though. Was Claressa Shields the true cause of this altercation? Or was it the culmination of years of tension, pride, and jealousy? As the encouraging partner, Tony Rich has been grinning for the cameras. However, unnamed insiders claim that he was collapsing behind closed doors because he was tired of being compared, desperate to escape Papoose's shadow and weary of whispers. Ladies and gentlemen, the globe witnessed the moment when that anger finally erupted. This is more than a street brawl. This violent confrontation combines betrayal, humiliation, and scandal. And trust me when I say that this was about legacy, not just about Claressa. Let's begin removing the layers of this mess, ladies and gentlemen. Because Tony Rich and Papoose's altercation wasn't a chance altercation. It took years to develop. You see, you're not just inviting drama when you place Claressa Shields at the heart of any romantic triangle. In essence, you're ordering an entire smorgasbord of mayhem. And believe me when I say that Tony Rich took on far more than he could handle. Let's dissect this now. Businessman, fiancé, and self-described cornerstone of Claressa's empire, Tony Rich has always carried himself with the arrogant grin of a man who believes he had it all. The respect, the attention, the girl. However, a diamond ring or Instagram couple goals cannot purchase respect. You have to gain respect. Sadly for Tony, the parallels continued unabated. Whispers followed him everywhere. He's not Papoose even if he is engaged to Claressa. The wound that never healed is at one. Papoose is more than just Remy's spouse. He is the epitome of loyalty in hip-hop. He supported Remy during his time in prison, during controversies, and during every cyclone that hit them. His name came to represent commitment. And Tony Rich's loyalty turned into a curse since he was never able to leave Papoose's shadow. No matter how many power couple pictures he created with Claressa, Tony tried everything. According to those close to the matter, networking gatherings, business transactions, and expensive presents for Claressa, his goal was to establish his worth. However, Claressa and Tony were never the true ride-or-die relationship in hip-hop that was featured in headlines. Remy and Papoose were there. You were also aware of how social media functions. Memes prevent you from breathing. Twitter was flooded with screenshots of Papoose being the epitome of a gentleman, while Tony was reduced to nothing more than Claressa's plus one. Let's not pretend, however, that Claressa is a drama queen. Not at all. Headlines, championship titles, rivalries both within and beyond the ring, allegations of extramarital affairs, and tumultuous friendships are all drawn to her. Tony believed he could manage the chaos, and Claressa fed on it. He believed he would become a hero by becoming the rock in her storm, but instead he became a footnote. Imagine now attending every fight on the front row, observing while the world laughs behind your back, because you're not the man with the reputation. The love of your life revels in your glory. According to unnamed insiders, Tony became somewhat obsessed. According to one insider, who naturally wishes to remain anonymous, Tony once lost his temper at a party when he was jokingly referred to as Claressa's intern. The whispers followed his reply, "I'm not her intern. I'm her empire," except nobody bought it. Oh. The rumors, screenshots, hazy direct messages, and anonymous posts on dubious forums that all suggested Claressa's loyalty wasn't as strong as she claimed. Whose name did those murmurs contain? Papoose. Let's be clear now. Was there ever evidence? Not at all. However, proof is optional in the world of gossip. Suspicion alone might boost a man's self-esteem. Burning. Additionally, Tony Rich's ego was a matchless tinderbox. Papoose's friends and family dismissed the rumors with laughter. They claimed that he hardly ever spoke to Claressa. However, the speculation continued, and insecurity and suspicion combined to create an emotional concoction that can render any guy unconscious. Tony developed paranoia, according to friends. He began keeping an eye on Claressa's phone, attending her training sessions without permission, and starting arguments over trivial matters. Neighbors reported to have heard Tony shouting about respect at 2 a.m. during one particularly loud confrontation. So, how does one get from being paranoid to flinging fists in public? Easy. You combine humiliation, jealousy, and a small amount of liquid bravery. According to reports, Tony had consumed alcohol on the day of the altercation. He is red-faced, slurred, but determined. according to witnesses, when he saw Papoose at a location where Claressa was scheduled to perform. The ticking time bomb finally detonated. The worst part is about to come, of course they were. And the cameras were already rolling. Everything is content in our world. Before security could intervene, witnesses quickly took out their phones. Papoose hardly had time to register Tony's lunge before anarchy broke out. Drinks flowing, chairs toppling, people yelling, chaos reigned. What was the chant of the crowd? Give up. Again and again, to be honest, though, no one wanted it to end. Angles were what they want. They were looking for a video. Their goal was to become viral. Additionally, Tony has already produced one video. You think you're the only loyal man in hip-hop. Goes around on TikTok shows just before a big swing. The swing missed, spoiler alert. However, the embarrassment did not, because the darkness begins here. It wasn't about throwing punches in that fight. It was about years of suppressed anger. Exploding, Tony was battling more than just Papoose. Every meme, comparison, and smirk from those who felt he wasn't good enough was something he was fighting. And the story changed when the world saw it. He was no longer the influential fiancé. He was the desperate one who broke under duress. According to witnesses, Claressa was frozen. She didn't intervene or stop it. She even smirked. According to some, consider that. Your fiancé's public outburst puts his reputation at stake, as if it were just another headline to ride. You stood there. For you, that's Claressa. She is constantly calculating and observing how she may turn adversity into attention. Ladies and gentlemen, security was rushing, drinks were spilling, and fists were flying. The actual explosion, however, took place online rather than on the street, because scandals don't simply happen now in 2025. Before the blood ever dries, they are edited, packaged, and made viral. Hashtags became popular in a matter of minutes. #Claressa trapped in the middle. Tony versus Papoose, and my personal favorite, #someone stop Tony. There was an abundance of wobbly vertical video on TikTok. Each one shows Tony Rich's breakdown from a different perspective in less than an hour. One clip which showed Papoose sticking Tony's clumsy swing like he was avoiding a poor mixtape got millions of views. The so-called leaks followed the caption, "Papoose moves faster than Tony's career, brutal." But memes were only the beginning. Twitter accounts that were anonymous began posting screenshots of purported text messages. According to one post, Tony was seen yelling at a friend weeks prior, "I don't live in the shadow of another person, it's on sight if I see him." Claressa allegedly texted a girlfriend. According to another leak, Tony is in a downward spiral. "I won't stop him if he loses his temper in public. Let the world see his true self." Were these texts authentic? Who gives a damn? They were juicy. And that's it, the internet is required. Blogs also became involved. Hip Hop Whistle, a dubious website, claimed to have an exclusive eyewitness testimony from someone inside the event. Tony was already hot as he entered. He was murmuring about devotion, respect, and the dragging of Claressa's name. He went crazy when he saw Papoose. "You've been making fun of me for years," he yelled before attempting to swing, as if that wasn't enough fuel. Instagram gossip blogs began uploading previous pictures of Claressa and Papoose from industry mixers, charity events, and fight nights. Another line said, "Claressa didn't flinch. She looked like she was enjoying the show." Innocent photos suddenly took on the appearance of coded love tales. A hazy embrace turned into a scandal. A side grin turned into a private matter. The internet doesn't require proof. All it lacks are vibes. Papoose's camp attempted damage management in the interim. The reactions were savage. One anonymous family friend told reporters, "Papoose doesn't even think about Tony. This man created a narrative in his head." Papoose was blindsided, but he stayed calm because that's who he is. Calm, sure, but videos showed him clenching his fists, jaw tight, eyes locked on Tony. Calm and don't look like they're just seconds away from ending someone's night. Another wrote, "Imagine losing a fight and your dignity in front of Papoose. Tony Rich got to move cities now." Finally, another said, "Claressa should get a medal for keeping a straight face during that circus." Finally, the Instagram comments were, let's say, a graveyard of Tony's mentions. Individuals bombarded his most recent post with gifs of broken hearts, clown emojis, and the phrase in turn, "He was haunted by his old nickname." It gets darker here, though. Phishing investigative reports began to circulate. According to a blog, Tony Rich has been embezzling Claressa's money to finance his ventures. Tony Rich exposed. The headline cried, utilizing Shield's wealth to conceal his own shortcomings. Tony allegedly paid private investigators to follow Claressa in an attempt to catch her with Papoose, according to another so-called expose. The article claims that the pie consistently returned empty-handed, which further increased Tony's paranoia. The most outrageous accusation of all was that Tony was desperate. Rather than merely envious, if I can't control the narrative, I'll create one. The anonymous source claimed to have seen Tony say this at a club weeks prior. Was this fight planned by Tony? Did he desire the headlines, the pandemonium, and the cameras? Was this his perverse method of emerging from Papoose's shadow by taking on the role of the man who publicly attacked him? That's more than desperation. If it's true, that's bravado disguised as professional suicide. However, the internet devoured it. Hour-long breakdowns were posted on YouTube by commentators who freeze-framed Claressa's icy silence, Papoose's composed posture, and Tony's flushed face. Videos of reactions appeared everywhere. Into the camera, one influencer shouted, "Papoose doesn't get hit by you, you simply don't. It's akin to questioning loyalty itself. You signed your own notice of cancellation." Tony, my brother, celebrities even voiced their opinions. "Send the clip. Embarrassing," tweeted rapper Mayo. Cardi B loved to upload dragging Tony and Remy Ma, which essentially amounted to her co-signing the online verdict. Unconcerned, she shared a single phrase on Instagram stories. The diss tune was not as loud as that quiet. Naturally, Claressa initially said nothing, which just made matters worse. Her quiet was seen as tactic, as cooperation, as shading. Claressa isn't speaking because she knows the scandal makes her bigger. Tony's humiliation is her content. One gossip page wrote, "And you know what? They weren't wrong. Every headline mentioned her name. Every meme put her in the center." The fight was Tony versus Papoose, but the spotlight was all Claressa's. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the dangerous part, because scandals don't just ruin reputations, they also create new power. Claressa's brand engagement soared while Tony was being roasted alive online. Her name went viral, sponsors were swarming, journalists were begging for interviews, and her PR team was likely popping champagne behind closed doors. Ladies and gentlemen, scandals don't end when fists stop flying. They mutate, grow, and follow you into boardrooms, courtrooms, and every single headline that refuses to die. And for Tony Rich, this wasn't just a fight, it was the start of a full-blown legal disaster. Within days, police confirmed what everyone already suspected, and the altercation between Tony and Papoose was officially under investigation, as if it were the premiere of a film. According to leaked reports, Tony may face charges ranging from disorderly conduct to attempted assault. Authorities confirmed they were looking at various aspects of the incident, and let's just say none of those clips made Tony appear like the victim. One anonymous officer even told a gossip outlet, "If Tony thinks money will save him, he's mistaken." The proof can be seen everywhere on social media. As a law circled Tony, Papoose played his part like a seasoned pro, releasing a composed statement. Through his lawyer, Mr. Mackie, Papoose was merely protecting himself from an unprovoked attack. Imagine that your downfall was not just witnessed by strangers, but was replayed, clipped, and memed for eternity. He still focused on his family and his career. Translation: he wasn't sweating. He didn't need to scream or clap back. His silence and his composure made Tony look smaller, weaker, and more pitiful in comparison. However, the legal issues didn't end there. According to a leaked email, a major sportswear brand was reevaluating its partnership, citing negative press linked to Shield's inner circle. Another purported leak stated that Claressa herself might be called to testify if Tony's case went to court. The irony was that while Claressa benefited from the attention, she was also being dragged into the mud alongside her fiancé. The internet itself became a courtroom with people debating endlessly. One viral thread said, "Claressa is playing chess." Was Claressa innocent, or had she fueled the flames by remaining silent and smirking during the fight? Was Tony a victim of ongoing humiliation, or just a jealous hothead? Tony is playing Papoose in checkers, and he has already won. Accurate but brutal. Financial fissures began to appear in the meanwhile. According to blogs, investors were fleeing Tony's companies out of fear of the negative press. Screenshots of emails purportedly addressed to Tony's employees went viral. All projects are immediately put on hold until further notice. His empire collapsed in real time. More like a house of cards. The most surprising development, however, was when an insider stated that Remy Ma was thinking of suing Tony for defamation. Why? Because there was more to the fight than fists. It concerned devotion, allegedly. Tony had yelled charges that Papoose and Claressa had a covert relationship. Ray's team wasn't going to overlook those charges if they were reported to the media. Consider the drama in the courtroom. Hip-hop royalty is suing Tony for defamation, while he is on trial for assault. It is more than just a scandal. The circus is in full swing. But despite it all, Claressa said nothing. Weeks passed, no declarations, no regrets, no justifications. Just a series of Instagram pictures of her working out, having fun with pals, and appearing unconcerned despite the chaos all around her, and it was well received. The comments came pouring in. Queen Power, while she remained busy and booked. She allowed the men to fight, but others weren't so understanding. You did nothing but watch your fiancé make a fool of himself. The gap became more pronounced each day. This is when it becomes even more repulsive. Ladies and gentlemen, according to a court document that was posted online, Tony filed a claim, alleging that the frequent parallels to Papoose had caused him emotional anguish. Yes, you heard correctly, in fact. He attempted to attribute his public collapse to the internet's fixation on Papoose. If it's true, it's not only desperate, it's absurd. People who remind you that you're not Papoose can't be sued. It would be equivalent to suing the sun for rising each morning. The final bombshell was revealed by an unnamed source, just when you thought things couldn't get much worse. According to rumors, Tony and Claressa's engagement was on hold. I can't marry a man who embarrasses me in public. This isn't strength, it's weakness, the source said. Claressa said to friends, was this real now? Who knows? However, the rumor took off like wildfire. The story abruptly changed. Tony was more than a man being investigated, and he was an abandoned man. Fans conjectured endlessly, did Claressa truly abandon him while Tony plummeted? Was this her opportunity to change course and become a strong, independent woman? Every notion garnered media attention, and the possibilities were virtually limitless. What does that leave us with then? Tony Rich is more respected than ever, yet he's also degraded, broke, being investigated and possibly dumped, and Claressa Shields, who appears to be untouchable, profitable, and in style. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the true question. Is this the story's conclusion or the start of something more sinister? Due to if history teaches us anything, it is that scandals change over time. It's assault charges today. It might be audio leaks, covert agreements, or startling betrayals we haven't even considered yet tomorrow. And the cliffhanger is right there, because the war is just getting started behind closed doors. Even though the battle may have concluded in public, what we just saw, ladies and gentlemen, is more than a simple altercation. It serves as a model for how quickly reputations can fall apart. Tony Rich entered that venue with the intention of establishing his worth. Rather, he provided his detractors with an endless source of memes. The worst aspect is that the cameras captured a man's complete picture dissolving, not just a swing. We must all ask ourselves, though, was it worthwhile? Did Tony truly believe that years of insecurity would be eliminated by lunging at Papoose? Or did he know in his heart that he would only be able to emerge from the shadows once he had one meltdown because he just stepped into his legal quicksand at this moment? However, Claressa Shields has handled this controversy like a master. Apologies, no words, just measured quiet. Is that a cold-blooded tactic, or is it strength? Is she secretly organizing her escape from Tony's mayhem? Or is she defending her empire? As well as Papoose, he didn't even have to engage in combat. His serene stillness, loyalty, and poise spoke for themselves. Punching someone isn't always the greatest form of retaliation. The other man is allowing himself to be destroyed. I'll give you this. Then, will Claressa break up with Tony in order to save her reputation? Will Tony be imprisoned, sued, or worse, completely irrelevant? Most significantly, did Tony's unsuccessful attempt to take down Papoose only serve to further solidify his legendary status? There is yet more to this tale, so please share your ideas in the comment section. If you believe Tony has dug his own grave, hit the like button and subscribe to Gossip Spill Vibes so you don't miss the next shocking ray.